Hello and welcome back to the channel, and it feels so good to be saying that. And I'm so sorry that I've been away for so long, but we are back now and we are going to be covering everything Wizarding World going forward, and I'm also going to be covering the things that I've missed in my absence. This video is going to be about the new series coming to HBO Max, or the rebranded Max, and also we will be doing some videos coming up on the channel in relation to all of the news that I've missed, such as the Quidditch game that is coming out and it's currently in beta testing, and also the Magic Awakened game, which has just been released, and unfortunately I really haven't had much time to play it, but we'll be playing some on the channel and I'll be getting into that going forward, and hopefully be able to make some tips and tricks videos and break down some of those gameplay elements for you as well. As always, if you are interested in anything Wizarding World, you are in the right place, and please consider subscribing to the channel because I do make everything Wizarding World here. We do news, we do reviews, and we do specifically very much trailer breakdowns. So any new information we get about the Wizarding World, we do a deep dive into those things and break down and try and find as many secrets as possible. As I said, if that's anything you're interested in, consider subscribing to this channel. But without any further delay, let's get straight into this video and talk about everything that we know about the upcoming series on Max. So first of all, let's talk about this trailer that was dropped by Max. It was very simple, but also hit very hard with some of the elements in it, and I really did enjoy it. So it starts off with a blank screen, and then Hedwig's theme plays over by John Williams, and you can hear that playing over the whole of this trailer, and it is just beautiful to hear that again, knowing that we're going to be getting some new content. The screen then fills with lots of floating candles that we would normally associate above the Great Hall during the students' feasts and having a breakfast. After this, we fly through the candles, and then they form into a very familiar font saying the words Harry Potter before the well-known symbol of the castle appears behind them. And these elements with the music really do just hit home that we are getting a new series, and it made me so excited to see it. Now, what they have said is this series is going to break down each individual book into its own season, which is quite an interesting element in itself and could actually have quite a few different repercussions from what they've said from this. Now, I'm hoping that that means that some of the later series are going to be longer in episode length than they are in the original series, because there's no point in doing the same length series for the Philosopher's Stone as there is doing for the Order of the Phoenix, because the books and the stories told in those books are just drastically different and obviously need to be fully extended in the later stories that are told within the Harry Potter series. They've also said that it's going to last 10 years, which is also very strange considering normally, you could potentially do a production, film in, and then do the production elements of it within a year and get it out the next year. So the fact they're doing 10 years for 7 stories is strange on itself. Maybe they're potentially going to be splitting the story of the later ones into 2 elements of a season, or potentially it could mean they are going to be telling some further stories that we have not yet seen within the Wizarding World. Now, they did say in a statement they have got creative control to be able to tell more stories within this retelling. So potentially once the seasons have finished, there could be a couple of extra seasons where we might be able to see the Marauders and potentially see the original Order of the Phoenix and the Rise of Voldemort. That is one interpretation. As I said, it may just be the fact that they are splitting some of the later stories into 2-part seasons to make sure they've got enough time to tell the appropriate story, which again I will be completely on board with. But if they want to spread the story and give us more information and more backstory, again I will be all for that, whether they do that by way of extra seasons, or potentially they could even have flashback episodes within the seasons where potentially Moody could be showing Harry the picture of the original Order of the Phoenix, and it could go into that picture, and then we could see what they were doing around the time of the Order of the Phoenix and the first rise of Lord Voldemort. It'd be really interesting to see how they're going to go about these sorts of stories, or even if they're going to extend it at all. That is just a couple of speculations that I've got on this, but hopefully we're going to see a lot of story told within these 10 years. Now, talking about the creative control, let's obviously talk about one of the most controversial elements, and that is the fact that J.K. Rowling will have creative control over this series. She would not do anything without her say being done through this. Although they have elements to be able to stretch the stories, again, she will be having a creative control and is actually an executive producer on the show. And also the show is being co-produced by her company that she set up with a partner a few years ago, which is going to be producing these TV shows going forward. Personally, I know there's controversy around her, but I am glad that they are going to be referring to her in relation to what she wants to happen within the stories and making sure they're cross-referencing and cross-checking it. Although I do think that there are people within the world who probably know the world as much inside out as she does. But if there's elements of it that she wants to confirm or she had in her mind when writing it, which obviously didn't get to the point of making the original movies, then at least they're going to be checking with her they're doing those things right. While we're talking about the original movies, I think it's going to be a lot of reused elements from the original movies. And when I say reused elements, I'm talking about things like props and locations, because so much money has gone into Warner Brothers and used for merchandising, and not just merchandising, but if you think about like the parks in America, in Orlando and in LA, you can see that potentially they have designed these parks around the looks that we know, and they are continuing to design more in Orlando around the looks that we know of the Wizarding World that has already been portrayed in the movies so far. So for them to continue to make money from those franchises within theme parks, they would still need to continue to make money with those, so I don't think they're going to be deviating too much from those things. But obviously so many things were missed out from the original retailing, and they have the opportunity there to be able to create more merchandise and more potential locations that people could visit as a experience in themselves. Now, talking about things that were missed out in the original adaptation, I'm going to be creating a whole series around each individual book and the things that were missed that I think that they can put into this new TV series. And it's not just going to be your run-of-the-mill things that were just missed from the book or need to be added. I'm also going to be adding a few suggestions from my point of view of things that they could introduce earlier, or things that we've seen elsewhere in the Wizarding World they could put into this show to stop them being used as plot devices later on. If you introduce them earlier and have them have some sort of effect early on, then at least then when they do come into play later, they're not just there for the plot device, and it will just make things seem a lot more smoother and a lot more lived in world early on. I know that we experienced the books from Harry's eyes, so he wouldn't necessarily know what some of these creatures are, but we are now also experiencing this from the reader's eyes of someone who's read these books thousands of times and knows them inside out. So it'd be a nice way to nod to us and say, yes, we know that you know what a Thestral is, and we're going to have some character mention them or potentially be stroking one in the first book so that you know exactly what's happening and you know the stuff that Harry doesn't before Harry knows it. By doing this, it would be a really nice way to just merge everything together and make sure that it is just one told story without these plot devices added in later. Now, in relation to castings, we do not know anybody at this moment in time has been cast in the role. However, they have said that they have been doing their internal discussions with people they want to be cast in the role, so potentially some things have been happening in the background where people have been approached to play certain characters. Now, I would imagine these are probably the older characters. I can't imagine that they've cast any of the children in this story yet, because they would have to do some form of casting call for that, and I would imagine that would be pretty mainstream news. But there could be certain people they're approaching to play certain roles. Potentially they could even be approaching people to reprise their roles, or if not going to reprise their roles, potentially people who have been in the original stories, maybe playing a different character. Now, when this initially was rumored a year or so back, I did create my own series about recasting the HBO series, and I've linked that in the description below. So if you want to see my castings, go check that video out. It is linked below, and it was a really fun time putting my casting twists on each of these very well known and very well cast characters from the original stories. We do know, however, talking about recastings, that a few of the characters will not be returning. Emma Watson and Daniel Radcliffe have specifically gone outright and said that they do not want to come back into the franchise, and they do not want to be part of it in any way, and they want it to be a standalone thing. I'm glad about this. I don't want them to be shoehorned into another character, because it would be quite jarring seeing them. But the only way that I would think that they potentially could be shoehorned into it, if they have talks later down the line, would be if they did something small, like potentially when Harry and Ron and Hermione infiltrate the Ministry and they take on the personas of Mathilda Hopkirk, Reg Cattermole and Albert Runcorn. Potentially you could have the original Golden Trio playing those three characters. It'd be a nice nod to them, and it would also not be too jarring to see them in those roles. But obviously, we will see if that pans out as the story goes on. But at this time, like I said, Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson are completely not going to be in this story according to statements that they've made. So there you have it. That is everything that we know about this HBO Max series at this time. Any more information or trailers that we do get, then obviously we will break them down on this channel and go into as much detail as we can. So as I said at the beginning, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a like and drop me a comment and let me know what you want to see in this remake that was missed from the original films. Now, I'm going to be making my own series about what I think should be included in them, but I want to add a series at the end of it with your suggestions. So please drop some suggestions in the comments below and I will include them in that final video. As always, thank you so much to the members of the channel. I really appreciate you guys sticking around while I've been gone and supporting the channel. Honestly, your support means so much to me and I cannot explain how much it means. Thank you so much. But that is it for this video and I really do hope you enjoyed it. And I cannot wait to see you in the next one. But until then, Mischief Malice.